Crosstalk. We have a very exciting episode this week. We have a featured guest, Karen Moser. Just to give a little bit of her resume, she, over the years, has been, you've been children's choir instructor.
Yes.
You have been kind of children's ministry Sunday
Yes.
school person. You have been organist, pianist, worship leader combo kind of right now.
Yes.
You do the multifaceted things always on Sunday morning. You help plan the community vacation Bible schools that go
Yes.
on in the community with all the churches. The community worship services you usually have a hand in.
Yes.
You give piano lessons. You're a retired music teacher, which is really funny because you're not really retired from anything, other than you just do it for free now. And
True.
And you are never bored, it
No.
seems.
No.
So tell us a little bit about you outside of that glamorous resume that you have.
Outside of my glamorous resume, okay, I'm married to Greg Moser, and we have 4 children. Tyler and his wife Lindsay and our granddaughter Kaylin live in Indianapolis. We have Trina, who's married to James Summer. They have 3 children, Charlotte, whom we call Charlie, and Steph Joe and Miti, who are adopted from Bulgaria. We have Tamra, who lives in Alabama, and we have Tiffany, who lives in Bern, and that is our family. And then let's see, what else do you want to know about me outside of that? Outside of doing all those things he mentioned, I like to do crafty things. I like to travel. I'm involved in a ladies' fraternity, Delta Kappa Gamma. So I do various things. So I'm not bored, never. Oh, and I volunteer at the Etzedreka.
That's right.
I do volunteer at the
you do.
Etzedreka.
Usually when I'm going to get some
Yes.
knickknacks for my wife or my daughter, we usually see
Yes,
bump into
right.
you or Pat Willie or somebody like that there. So cool. Well, I guess what we really want to know is just a bit of your story. So take us through how have you come to know Jesus Christ in your life? What's that look like over the years? And then maybe some of your history with Cross Church.
Okay. So, my parents, when I was born, lived in Fort Wayne, and they were attending a missionary church. They moved to Bern, and we went to West Missionary Church. And when I was in 2nd grade, about 1963, we came to this church. So 2nd grade is when I started coming here. Then we've been here since then. I was confirmed and baptized in this church. As far as coming to know Christ, I mean, I have lived in a family that we have worshiped faithfully. My parents thought it was important for us to go to church and to be involved in whatever at church. And so that is what we did. As far as giving my life to Christ, I would have to say, this is going to sound weird, but I don't remember what year it was, but the White Sisters, it was a singing group at the union meetings.
Okay.
And as a small child, you know, they said, would you like to give your life to Christ? Come downstairs to these rooms. So I did. And I did go home, and I remembered, when I went home today, before I came here, I thought, I remember they wrote something in my Bible, and I knew it was a Bible verse. Mm-hmm. So I had to go back and look, and I thought, what Bible verse did they write in there? It said Mark 6:38, and I thought, boy, that's pretty heavy stuff for a kid my age at that level. But anyways, I had said, yes, I wanted Jesus in my life. And like I said, I went through confirmation. I was baptized here at the church, which was very special. And then I have just been here like, okay, we're sitting here in the youth room, and this is where I had Sunday school. And then, like, somebody had to play the piano when we sang songs. So when I was, like, in junior high, I played songs for opening, and we sang children's songs. So I started then playing for the church. That was the beginning of playing in the church. And then I took piano lessons since I was 5, and then it was time, do you want to learn how to play the organ? And my oldest sister played organ, and I idolized her, and it was like, I want to be able to play like that. And so I started playing the organ, and in junior high, when I started playing, they kind of worked me into the rotation of people playing. And you have it from there. I've been playing the organ and the piano ever since. I played in the chapel for the people downstairs for opening. I played on second floor for opening. That's something I've just done and grown up with. I've played for the church choir and everything too. Led musicals here at the church. As far as my music life goes, that's pretty much it. And then after Greg and I got married, we got married in '76, and I started working with the children's choir. And so I did that for quite a long time, and then I handed it off to Jesse Miller. So, and we used to do musicals and everything. So it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And that's during that course of the time, somewhere in there, I don't remember what year it was, Sunlight Club started.
Right.
And that was really great. And then I think and then there's handbells, because I play handbells. So I joined the handbell choir. I think it was when Mrs. Kaufman was leading the handbells. I think it was her.
Would that have been Reverend Kaufman's wife?
Yes, that would have been his wife. And I think it was her that started the handbell choir.
That would have been in the late 70s, early 80s?
Probably.
Okay.
And so I started playing handbells then. And since then, I've, played and directed and been involved with that. So that's kind of my musical side. And then as far as my teaching side goes, I taught Bible school when it was here. And I didn't do a lot of Sunday school teaching because I was always busy on Sunday mornings.
Sure.
So I didn't do that sort of thing. But I was involved in Sunday school, the Sunlight Club. The life group, Brenda Wilson and I.
Tell us what the life group is.
Oh, that's right. Loving involvement for everyone, and it's for women in the church.
Okay.
And we do service projects. We have devotionals and this sort of thing. So we work. We want to help the church.
Yeah, and it's
we're
quite a
involved.
motivated group, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of purpose behind your meetings and the things
Yes.
that you put together, and you have a missional emphasis where you're trying to
Right.
accomplish projects and things like that.
So it's wonderful, and it's wonderful to work with the ladies in the church on that. And let's see. Oh, what else was I going to say? The life group, and then we have. Do I have anything else in that department? Oh, we helped with the youth. I don't think you mentioned that. Greg and I were helpers in the
Right.
youth group for several years.
I think I knew that.
Yeah. So we did help with the youth group. So I've been active ever since I've been here. And I enjoy doing what I do, and being on council now is being on the transition team and then on the council.
What was the
it's good.
transition team?
That was when we were in transition between our last pastor and you.
Okay.
And so we had a transition team, and we carried on with business as usual till we could hire a new pastor,
Okay.
and selected you. And then, so now I'm on the council, and it's been a learning experience. I was never involved in that part of the church before. So it's been good. I'd advise anybody to be part of it.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yes.
And I think an exciting part of your story, you became compelled by Christ, you were shown well by your family, and you just kind of hopped on as a servant in whatever he availed to you ever since then.
Yes.
Like within your giftedness, within your capacities, all of these things, it became a conviction of yours, so to speak,
Right.
to serve the Lord at the local church level
Yes.
in this capacity.
Yes.
So I guess this is something that I'm always trying to think through in the development of leaders, especially, younger leaders and things like that. So we have a broad generational representation in different places. I guess, what are some things that you might say to somebody who's considering jumping into some of these things for the first time?
I would say pray about it, first of all. I would say talk to others that have been involved. Find out what's needed and what you need to do. I don't know. And the biggest thing is pray about it, I guess. But give it a try. You won't know unless you try.
Right.
And I know you hear the same thing all the time. Things like, I can't do that. I'm not a leader. Well, you won't know unless you try. You won't know.
Yeah, and again, usually these types of things, other people who are in it will approach someone
Yes.
because they see, this Christ-like example from Titus chapter 1 and 1 Peter 5:1-4 in there,
Yes.
of this godly representation that exists in a person. And then we kind of leave it up to their discernment whether they are going to serve in a selected leadership type of role.
Right.
So just to inform any listeners out there, Cross Community Church, we're very much about empowering people to lead, the lay people, the ones who are a part of the congregation to lead the church. And that's a really exciting part of what we get to see in
Yes.
council and in worship ministry is really fun
Yes,
because
yep.
sometimes new people can come in a little bit faster.
Right,
And that's even been fun over the last year. Some people who've been at the church for a long time, we know they have an ability, which is always your first question when you're
Right.
bringing in, a musician. But then you just have to push them a little bit
You
to
do.
try to come into the fold, and that
You do.
and that's a fun piece of it, right? And the fortunate thing about somebody like you have a very winsome and compelling personality. So when you go to call upon somebody, it's like we lovingly know how to help people not want to say no.
Well, I hope they don't say
Give
no.
it a
Some
try.
people have.
Right. And they have the freedom to do that. But,
Right.
You will experience joy. We're not trying to sell something that's without base beneath it,
Right.
Serving Jesus in these capacities in ways that you're gifted in that you may not know unless somebody has told you. That's a really important thing to see.
Exactly. And I'm ever grateful to Arlene Nicodemus and Brenda Wilson for jumping on board.
Yes.
And coming on board and helping on Sunday mornings with playing piano and keyboard. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just nice to have other people to work with like that.
Right.
I enjoy working with everybody. And for me, it's fun. Music is my passion.
Right.
And that, I just enjoy helping others learn and saying, hey, we can do this. And you don't have to be perfect. And no, you don't sing as well as somebody else. That's not what we care about. Make a joyful noise.
Make a joyful noise and
right.
do things with excellence for
Excellence,
the Lord.
right.
But see, that's what I think really differentiates between a worship leader and an artist. And both have their value, but in God's economy of worship leading, it's a very priestly role. You're ushering
Yes.
the people into worshiping the Lord through praise songs, through scripture readings and congregational prayers and all of that kind of stuff. And that's kind of a shared responsibility that you and I and
Yes.
others on that team have. Where an artist piece, you're going to come at it from the fine line of perfection and excellence,
Right.
which get that as close as we can with what we have, but it's also not a recording studio, and we're not dependent upon.
It comes from the heart.
Yeah,
It
and
comes from the heart.
People joyfully worshiping the Lord,
That's
I think,
right.
is a huge piece of it.
Is big.
So,
Is big. Yes.
and with that, give our listeners, I guess, something they could expect if they were to come worship with Cross on a Sunday morning.
On a Sunday morning?
Stylistically, what are things like?
Okay. On a Sunday morning, I will start with an organ prelude, and it could be of any genre. It might be classical, it might be just a hymn, it might be a spiritual or whatever. But I will do that on the organ, and then the praise team, worship team comes up, and we will sing a hymn, and knowing that the congregation, we do have an older congregation, which is fine, but hymns are important to them. Hymns are important to me. I think we learn a lot from hymns and a lot of theology in them. And I think it's good for everyone to sing hymns as well as singing worship and praise music. I'm a firm believer in it's all good
Yeah, I would
all good.
agree with that. I think,
and a good blend.
and for somebody who's not quite 30 yet, I have a very deep appreciation for hymnody. I think the blend of styles, and I think we try to do it well, and we're always refining things, surely, but
Yes.
I think whatever we're singing, because you go through a hymnal, there's like 700 or 800 hymns in there.
Yes.
How many do we actually sing? About 30 or 40 of them?
40 of them, yeah.
Because we know what's really, really, timeless and
Sure.
useful. And the same thing goes with the praise and worship music. Like, we try
Yes.
to be very selective on what we pick and whatever it's saying. If there's no musical accompaniment with what I'm reading, is it going to sound silly if I read it? Or do the words have meaning?
Yes.
So that's kind of the approach that we take
Yes.
when we're planning the services and such like that.
Well, and then after we do our 3 opening numbers, which are either a hymns and praise and worship songs, then we have our little break where we have our sermon and whatever else we need
Try
to do.
not to fall asleep while the preacher's talking.
That's right. That's what they do. I keep them awake. And then we have one last, either a hymn or a worship song at the end.
Yep.
And and I will say too, the hymns I accompany on the organ, and then the other 2 ladies that I mentioned earlier sometimes will play along with us.
On a grand
So-
piano or an upright piano.
Right.
Yep.
And then the worship songs, I'm on keyboard, and Brad's on guitar, and Larry's on the cajon.
Yeah. So just so you understand how many steps Karen gets in on a Sunday morning, she will start at the pipe organ, which is up in the choir loft, and then we'll do a congregational reading at some point whenever the organ playing for that opening set is done. Then she'll come down to the keyboard for the praise and worship piece, and then we move with it from there. So I guess you have learned to be very flexible with how things go in a given order on a Sunday morning.
Okay. Let me just say, I try to be flexible. After teaching school, I taught school for 43 years.
Sure.
Being an elementary music teacher, flexibility is important. And I try to be flexible, and I try to work with whoever it is I am working with.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you a funny story. There was one little guy in our church a long time ago, and he wanted to know something if I was the preacher or whatever, because I was always moving from the organ back down to the front. I was always going up and down and up and down. And he wanted to know if I was the preacher. I had to tell him, sorry, I'm not the preacher. So, but and I have to tell you this story too, because I should have put this in my beginning when I was talking about growing up. At home, I would make up music programs for church, like Christmas programs.
Okay.
And I would look up scripture, and I would write out little parts for everybody, and I would make my family do this. And we just had fun.
I bet that was a treasure for them, though, to see you as a young person just taking such an onus of that.
That was then, and really, I mean, as a child, if you ask a child, what do you want to be when you grow up? I wanted to be a music teacher. And it was all of that. It was part of church, part of school, part of piano lessons, privately,
And you knew from a very young age what you wanted to do.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. That's incredible to me, because my sister knew as like a sophomore in high school, she wanted to be a physician's associate, and she did it. I graduated high school, applied to 3 different colleges, didn't go to any of them because I had no clue what I wanted to do. So I'm working for a year and a half afterwards in sheet metal fabrication, and serving in the local church. I've been a guitar player for 19 years.
Wow.
Holy smokes, I'm getting old. But
Not too old.
and there was one particular Sunday where our pastor ended up being sick, and he brought in somebody to preach last minute, but somebody else had to facilitate through the service. So I was, doing the congregational praying over the offering, all of that other stuff. And there was nothing special about this experience other than I just sensed this different presence and power in the room that just wasn't mine. And I think that was the first time I really sensed an anointing to Christian ministry.
Nice.
Just in, shepherding his people in that brief little tidbit.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew, okay, I think I'm supposed to shepherd God's people. But up to that point, nothing.
Yeah.
So it's so funny how he,
Yeah.
Gave you that provisionally so early, and and then there's others who, years later, kind of find it out. So Yeah, that's why the story piece is so fascinating to me, and why you share it is because as we share stories of how God has worked in our lives, it's going to be relatable to somebody.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yes.
and we were just talking. I guess this is kind of a good time to go into sermon recap. We did the parable of the unworthy servant, or the servants without need, and at the beginning of that chapter, I started at Luke 17. We were talking about, temptation and woe to those who through whom which they come. So we talked about surviving and overcoming temptation, and we went to the Revelation passage in chapter 12, and it says in verse 11, they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. So, word of the testimony is the piece that I think it's harder for people to understand because there's an individual component to it
Yes.
that is related in the body of Christ piece that comes from the blood of the Lamb. We trust
Right.
Jesus purchased us and made us one of
Yes.
his own.
Yes.
So I think when people share their story with whatever, lies from the enemy or difficult circumstances could be going on in a person's life. If they see somebody who's been there and been through it already, as we're, relating one another's stories in that way, we can get through it a little
Right.
bit easier. The
Yes,
bearing one
exactly.
another's burdens
Right,
passage that I
right.
beat to death, killed the horse, and woke it back up again just to kill it again. I use that passage a lot, Galatians 6:2. But, I just think that is really fascinating to hear your whole perspective on life and faith and such like that, as other listeners or other people can come back to this and think, oh, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure Karen said something about that, and I think I'm going through that right now. Let me go listen again. Maybe I'll go talk to Karen again, and
Yeah.
that's just really neat.
So,
So I guess one more question I want to
Okay.
have for you, then we'll let you go. What would you like to see Cross Church become in the coming years?
I would like to see Cross Church grow by numbers. It would be nice, but if that's not God's will, then that's not God's will. It would be nice to see it be vibrant again. Not that we're not vibrant, we are vibrant, but it would just be nice to have a nice larger group, but still remain faithful to what we believe.
Right.
And, I would love to see the music program grow again because honestly, we used to have a full choir. We had 3 choirs and stuff. So, we had that. We did have our youth group. We had Sunday school for everybody. And it'd just be nice to have that. But, whatever God sees fit for us,
Sure.
that is where we'll go. And we will keep trying and doing what he asks us to do.
Yeah, I think that's a worthy answer. And I've said, we have these places we want to get to because it's a bit of a revitalization is really what it is.
Yes, it
Cross
is.
has been through quite a bit of stuff over the last 30, 40
Yes,
years.
right.
And to see the people who have endured and survived all of that, they're quite a healthy
Yes.
bunch of believers. And it's just been a joy to be here and get to know everybody. And now that we've kind of got some structure back in place, now we can kind of drive a vision a little bit. And that's
Sure.
part of, where Kobe came into play, why this podcast is here and
That's
all of
right.
that. We're
Exactly.
seeing some stuff happen and come together in little increments now. So, I think I'm with you. I would love to see all the things you mentioned. But as you also emphasized, and I want to reemphasize, we just want to be faithful to God, his word, who he's entrusted us with in this community, and how can we be a partner in the kingdom work that he's doing in Bern.
So, yeah. And I even love that, we work together with other churches.
Yes.
That's
It's a good
really special.
it's a good playground in Bern with the local church
It is. And
collaboration.
yeah. And I just think, there's wonderful churches. And if you don't have a church home, come try us out.
10 o'clock. If you want a really awesome adult Sunday school class, come at 9. We're working on bringing in a children's Sunday school at some point, but we're, again, finding pieces to the structure of this thing, and you have an enjoyable time worshiping with us. And I guess a couple things before we go. We have a few announcements. I'll go ahead and share those just for if I get my notes in front of me here. Okay. So, for any of you who are on the nursery schedule, the new one is out, and please make sure you grab a copy from the door beside the nursery when you come see us on Sunday. Hopefully you're listening to this by at least Friday. If not Saturday night, you can roll out of bed Sunday morning and make sure you get your copy. We also have the Right to Life chain that's going to be down at the clock tower from 1 to 2:30. That'll be this Sunday afternoon. And this one I'm really, really excited for. October 26th. So as we mentioned, we do these movie nights when the weather gets colder. And we're watching a documentary on the ancient biblical world, some archaeological work, regarding Dr. Mark Fairchild called The Last Apostle. Dr. Fairchild was my New Testament professor at Huntington University, and he's going to be coming and doing a question and answers with us after the showing of the film. So if you are anywhere in the region, come over that Sunday night, 6 o'clock. We'll have drinks, we'll have popcorn, we'll have some snacks, a bunch of stuff to help you survive with the essential movie night junk food as you get your brain really prepared to ask really good questions to Dr. Fairchild around 8 o'clock after the movie's over with. And then an important piece for all of us in the congregation, we have a congregational safety and policy meeting November the 9th, right after the service. We'll go over a few things regarding the building and especially nursery and children's volunteers. We just want to stay as prepared and on point and upfront as we can to steward our people and our ministries well. Is there anything else you want to say before we close up today, Karen?
No, I don't think I have anything else to say.
All right. Well,
Unusual.
preview for the sermon this coming week will be in Luke chapter 18, verses 1 to 8. We're going to be talking about how persistence sometimes pays off, even if the listener isn't always excited to listen. So please stay tuned for that. Go read the first 8 verses of Luke chapter 18, and we look forward to seeing you on Sunday. Blessings to you.